Hi, my name is Karunakar Marsakatla. Today is April 14th, 2024. Today I'm going to tell you one story from Mahābhārata that I liked very much. That is the story of King Indradyumna. So this story was told by Markandeya Maharshi to Pandavas when they were visiting his ashram in Naimisharanya. Um, this story goes like a king Indra, an ancient king Indradyumna. He was enjoying his good merits in heaven for a long time. One day, he was thrown out of the heaven, and he was about to fall onto the earth. At that time, he asked Indra why I was being sent away from heaven. Indra said, like, your good deeds were expired, and that's why we are sending you back to the earth. And then, how can I gain back the heaven? Asked the king. Then Indra said, like, if any of the people still remembers your exploits, your good deeds, then you will gain the status to come back to heaven. So then, like, king fell onto the earth, and then he happened to be close to Maharshi Markandeya's ashram. So he went to Maharshi and then told that, do you know me? Do you know my exploits? Maharshi said, we live in the forest. We don't care about, we don't know much about kings. They live in the cities, but we move on from village to village. We live in the forest. So I don't know anything about you. Then the king asked, do you know anybody older than you? That maybe I can go and ask themselves. And then Maharshi replied that, like, there is an owl by name Pravarakarna that lives in Himalaya mountains. Then I think that the king can transform himself into anything. So he turned into a horse and carried the Maharshi into the Himalayas. And then they found the owl and then asked the owl. The king asked the owl, "Do you know Indradyumna king?" That said, "No, I'm not old enough to remember your exploits, but I know there is somebody who is older than me. Maybe uh, that knows who you are." And that so all pointed towards a crane that by name Nadi Janga that lives in the lake called Indradyumna. So the king, basically carried Owl and Maharshi into towards that lake, and then they found the crane and asked the crane, "Do you know me?" That to that crane replied that I'm not that old enough to know about you. Maybe the tortoise lives in the same lake. I will call him. Maybe he knows about you. And then he calls the tortoise by name Akupara. So the tortoise comes back to the surface and then meets the king. Then king asks the tortoise, "Do you know my exploits?" And then tortoise thinks for a while and he almost collapses. Then he recovers himself and then with wet eyes he remembered everything what the king did. And he was telling like that the king was so great, he did so many yajnas, sacrifices, and then in those sacrifices he donated so many cows. So those cows, innumerable cows, when they were standing at one place, their hooves, um, due to the pressure of their hooves, the dent formed in the surface of the earth. That dent itself is this lake. And because of that great king, I am able to live happily because that dent slowly became a lake. When water gathered, that became a lake, and because of that king, I'm able to live happily in this lake. And then by listening, as soon as his exploits were remembered by people, people or creatures, then heaven heard that news, and then quickly they Indra sent the celestial vehicle to take back the Indradyumna. So then Indradyumna was like so happy, and then he basically went took the owl back into Himalayas and Maharshi back into the forest, and then he then ascended the vehicle and went back to went back to the heaven. So this story, I why I remember this story is because there is a request or demand, whatever you call it, to change the names of some of the street names to the very famous and good people. So main thing is the Tughlaq Road. There was a demand to change it to Guru Gobind Singh Road, Marg, and that needs to happen because people needs to remember the great personalities, their sacrifices, their selfless acts, to next generations. And then not only that benefits the, even though whether you believe that story or not, maybe because Maharshi Markandeya told that, and then Vyasa Maharshi added that story as part of the Mahābhārata, then I don't have any doubt in believing that story. So that that story benefits the person whom we are remembering, and as well as uh, we could be improve ourselves to be similar to those people. So that way, the two-way benefit will get. So that's why I agree to um, change the names. Most of the names that are not necessarily change. We need to add another name. Like some people still can keep the Tughlaq Road, and then we can add another name to that road, Guru Gobind Singh Marg. So that way, some people might call it Tughlaq Road, and some people call it Guru Gobind Singh Marg. So there is nothing wrong in it. Like see, so many places have many names. Like a Kashi. Most of my childhood, I learned so many stories from my mother about Kashi and all those things. But right now, people call it as Varanasi. So, but why Kashi? There's nothing nothing to belittle the name Kashi. So we should use both the names, like the cities and the people should have places, lakes, anything you refer to that needs to have multiple names. So because of the limitations in the computer, only one name can be entered. That should not be the way. Technology should not dictate us how we live our lives. So that's why I'm earlier I gave a talk, facility for people, places to have multiple names. So this is part of my series. I am giving some talks, steps to reform India. So these are the 5 talks I gave earlier, and this is a bit in support of the second talk. So Mahabharata story in support of adding new names for cities and streets. So that's in taking the Indradyumna story as a anchor, as a reference. We should add additional names to the cities and the streets, whatever the places, because I read Ramayana. Ramayana has so many references to Prayaga, the Yamuna and then Gangam joining the spot, and that one is called, I think, Allahabad or something. But that need not be that way. You add another name, that is there for 7,000 years, being called as Prayaga, and just in the last 500 years, if you call it as Allahabad, um, that doesn't make any sense. People should have a choice to call the place and have their certificates, have their addresses, anything that relates to them should have Prayaga in that certificates, that they should have a choice. So I presented this case why we should have multiple names for people, not only places, people as well. People names also evolve over time, right? Like you might not like whatever your parents given, or you don't like your surname. There are many other reasons I pointed out in this talk. So what, in summary, what the talk is, names of people and places evolve over time. Because of that, we need to have a system to add multiple number of names, maybe maximum 20, to people, cities, and streets, like that. People living in that city or street will choose whatever name they prefer from that list. And then, for example, both the names Kashi and Varanasi are equally important to that glorious city. So we should have some people call it as Kashi and some people call it as Varanasi. So if we have that kind of facility, then it will be easy to add another name for a city or street with a consensus from the people in the vicinity of that place. This way we can avoid the usual resistance when changing a name, because we are keeping the old name as well. So normally when you try to change the name, people come, why we need to change, why you have to, what up to the old name. So we can just simply avoid that resistance by adding another name and give people choice to um, use any name they like to. So these are the IOST characters. Some of the names I wrote in. You can refer to this chart to see what those hyphens and dots over and below the names. Thank you. Thank you very much.